Creating your own DataMaxx variables is pretty easy. First, we have to determine what data point we want to grab. You have the option of grabbing the value at a certain time, grabbing the time at which a certain channel hits a certain value, or you can grab the min, max, average, or standard deviation. The first step is to determine what data point you would like to grab. For this example, I want to grab the fuel pressure at the end of the run. Now, we do recommend that you choose a time to grab this value where you know you won't be whomping the throttle at the finish line. In our top dragster that runs 420s to 440s, we typically grab the data at 3.8 seconds into the run. So in this scenario, I want to grab the value of the fuel pressure at 3.8 seconds. Next, in the RaceBase, click on Views, and then in the Variables section, change the variable type to DataMaxx point. This should open up additional text fields. Next is the first field, and this will be the name of the DataMaxx variable, not the DataMaxx channel. For this example, I can call the value fuel PSI. For type, I will leave that alone as a DataMaxx point. DX channel is important and has to be spelled properly for it to work. This is where we reference a DataMaxx channel name, and it needs to be spelled the exact same as the DataMaxx channel. So if I go over to my DataMaxx software, I can see that my fuel PSI channel is just listed as fuel with a capital F. So I type it in the exact same way into the DataMaxx channel field. DX option allows you to choose between value, time, min, max, average, and standard deviation. In this case, I'm trying to grab the value at a specific time, so I will select the value for DX option. DX operator allows me to grab the value at a certain time or grab the time when a value gets above a certain or below a certain range. Since I'm trying to find the fuel PSI at 3.8 seconds into the run, I will leave it on the at symbol. DX time is the time at which I want to grab this point. If I was doing launch RPM or temperature, it would be at negative 0.3 seconds into the run. But for this example, I want to choose 3.8 seconds, so I'm getting downtrack data, but not late enough that my data will be thrown off by me playing the finish line. The DX range is the final option, and this does not need to be set. It can be left blank. If you do set this range option, each time you import data, if it is outside of the range allotted compared to the previous pass, it will notify you in an alert box while you are inputting in your run. Any values that were outside of the range will also highlight the field red to let you know there is a problem. If your range is alerting too often, you can go back to this variable and modify the range easily. Now I can save the variable, and if I go select it again, I can find the variable summary at the bottom and make sure that it makes sense. In this case, it says get value of fuel at 3.8 with range of, and then nothing else. So that all sounds correct, and next I need to add it to a category that my car's view is currently showing. So if I go to my DataMaxx category, I can now add the fuel PSI variable to the category, and it is ready to test. For instructions on how to test and import the DataMaxx data, you can watch the next video. However, for the sake of teaching you how to create DataMaxx variables, we'll do some more examples here. Next, I would like to grab the average value of all 8 of my EGTs during a pass. So the first step is to go to Views inside of RaceBase, then change the type to a DataMaxx point, and more fields will appear. I will change the name to Average EGT and leave the DataMaxx point alone. Now for the DX channel, we are trying to average all 8 of the channels. So we will list each channel name as it is spelled in the DataMaxx and use a comma to separate them. So I will type in exhaust 1, comma, space, exhaust 2, comma, space, exhaust 3, and so on. Then for DX option, I will choose average, and then the at symbol, since I'm trying to find the value at a certain point in the run. Then for DX time, I will select the 3.8 seconds, which is referring to the 3.8 into the run I want to grab. And for range, I'm going to put in 30. This means if the average temperature is more than 30 degrees different than the run before, then it will alert me. Once I'm done, I can hit the Save Changes to Variable, and if I go select my average EGT variable, you will see a summary at the bottom that shows me what I'm grabbing. Next, we need to go into our DataMaxx category and add this average EGT variable to the category. At this point, you can try testing your new variable, and instructions for that are in the next video, how to import DataMaxx data. The last example we will show you is to grab the maximum value our shock sensor sees during our pass. So like before, we go to Views, then in the Variables section, change the type to DataMaxx point to open up the additional text fields. Now for name, we can go ahead and say shock max and leave the type as DataMaxx point. If we open up one of our good runs, we can see that the shock sensor name is spelled out just as shock with a capital S, so we type that in. For DX option, this time we are going to select max. For DX operator, we cannot select the @ symbol anymore because we're trying to grab the max during the entire run. So we will change the operator to greater than and the DX time to 0. This means we are going to look at all of the shock data from the 0 time point on and give you the maximum reading found. And for me, I like my shock data to be very consistent, so I put a 0.2 inch range. And again, we need to hit Save Changes to Variable and then add this new variable to our DataMaxx category.